Hey everybody. So, guess what? A couple of weeks ago, Wizards of the Coast reached out to me to ask if I wanted to get an exclusive sneak peek at one of the new and updated monsters from the upcoming Monster Manual if they didn't get to have any oversight on what I said. And I thought about it for 1.5 seconds, and then I said abso-freaking-lutely. So that's what I'm gonna do today. Welcome to D4. Yeah, so here at D4, for those who don't know, I typically do character builds for my favorite role-playing games. Usually that means D&D. I like to theory craft and number crunch about them and try and build characters that are powerful and fun, not to tell you the right way or the best way to play or build something, but just to explore and theory craft. And then, sure, a lot of times, hopefully if I'm lucky, try them out in game. But today, yes, we are jumping into an exclusive sneak peek from the upcoming Monster Manual. FYI, this video is not sponsored by Wizards of the Coast, and yeah, I just get to kind of say whatever I want about what they sent me and show you guys some images from the book, and I'm super excited to tell you about the Empyrean. Oh, and actually the new little mini Empyrean, the Empyrean orderly, as it were, called the Empyrean Iota. They're just little baby Empyreans, and they're super cute. As I go over stuff, I'm also going to highlight ways that what we're seeing with this specific monster is sort of demonstrative of some things that we're generally seeing throughout the new Monster Manual, though I won't be going into any specifics or details on other monsters because that would violate my NDA. Ready? Okay, let's talk about Empyreans. The first thing that I just kind of have to gush over here is the art. I mean, this is what we had in the old Monster Manual. Okay, it's fine, but I'm not sure that it really screams challenge rating 23 TPK machine, right? Now, check out what we get for 2024. Holy crap! This is freaking amazing and awe-inspiring and terrifying and gorgeous and fittingly celestial and deific. I am so in love with the art that's been coming out of the new books, and the 2024 Monster Manual has almost all new art for almost every monster in the book, and it is stunning. After the art, the first thing that really jumps out to me is the time and care that they spend building up the lore and the flavor around monsters. We see a lot more of this kind of thing in the new book. Before, we got 3 paragraphs that kind of told you about Empyreans. Now we get half a page of flavor text, including a random table to roll on if you want to help you give some otherworldly features to them. And honestly, when I was reading this, I couldn't help but start to craft an awesome story around a warlock character who has an Empyrean as their patron, and who maybe interacts with that patron via the new Iota, which is sort of an emissary of the Empyreans. But then if the campaign goes into high level, maybe one of the climactic battles of the campaign would be my warlock character facing and overcoming that patron, whether because they wanted to finally break free of their pact, or maybe as an ultimate test to gain 9th level spells or an epic boon, etc. And yeah, the book just really prompts that kind of thing with the monsters in here that will make it easier than ever, I think, to find interesting and compelling ways to include them in the stories that you're telling at your table. Now, let's talk about the new Empyrean Iota. These are thoughts or memories of deities personified. They might look like floating glyphs or motes of color and are messengers of the gods and aids to the gods' servants. They're just challenge rating 1 creatures, but check it out. They have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which is pretty rare for CR1 enemies, right? Or at least it used to be. More on that later. But they have true sight, incorporeal movement, so they can move through other creatures and objects. Good luck grappling them, right? Have advantage on saves against magic and other effects. So yeah, resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, and advantage on saves against spells on a CR1 enemy. Dang. They don't hit super hard, but it's appropriate for enemies of this level, and can even cast a few support spells. Okay, now I want my warlock to have an Iota from my patron as a little sidekick. They hang out in my backpack, they cast Bless on my party and Healing Word when someone goes down, and report back to my boss to make sure I'm towing the line, right? Or maybe I convince them to help me overthrow our patron who we both resent. As for Empyreans themselves, yes, they are idealized, human-shaped beings of godly power, with a relationship to deities similar to like parents and children, or royalty and their highest level servants. But they do have free will, and can be tied to good or evil deities, and are thus celestials or fiends now. The celestial Empyreans feel to me almost like a ASMR, but kind of grown up, when an ASMR reaches their full potential. Does that make Fiend Empyreans the fully realized versions of Tieflings? Well, I don't know. Let's get back to the nitty-gritty of the stat block, shall we? I want to do a bit of a side-by-side comparison of the 2014 version of the Empyrean to the 2024 version to highlight the differences here. Let's start off by comparing the base stats. First off, note that the CR is the same, challenge rating 23, so still for like high-end combat encounters, right? But you'll see just how much more challenging a CR 23 is now than it used to be. Also, notice the change in presentation. Showing the ability scores and like their corresponding saving throws just side by side next to each other is so much more user-friendly, I think. Anyways, they've got the same AC as before, but about 10% more hit points, plus 19 to their initiative versus plus 5. Dang, they're probably going first. They have hover added to their flight now, so no knocking them prone tactics and causing them to fall as a result, right? Base stats are the same, but their intelligence and charisma saving throws actually got a little nerfed. They're still good, just not nigh unbeatable. So those would be the saving throws to maybe target now, along with dexterity, though even getting those saving throws to fail is not going to be super easy, as we will see. Their persuasion is a tad lower, and this is super important. They used to have immunity to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks, but no resistance to them otherwise. This was something that we saw fairly commonly in the 2014 Monster Manual, right? Now, they just have resistance to all bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage like the Iota before them, and like I've been saying for a while now, yeah, resistance or immunity to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage from non-magical attacks is just gone from the Monster Manual now. And in general, I think we're seeing less just straight resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage, but when we do see it, it's just resistance, whether the damage is magical or not. And I think I'm really happy for that change. I mean, on the one hand, it's nice because it doesn't make non-magical weapons almost worthless after a certain level, like we kind of used to get, right? But on the other hand, it's gonna kind of suck for PCs who only really have options to do bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage like a lot of martial characters, since now we're gonna see quite a few enemies who just straight up resist all or most of your damage, which is one reason why I think, as I've also been saying, that class and subclass abilities that give you options to change your damage type are going to be a lot more useful with the new Monster Manual than ever before. And I think that's pretty awesome, at least for those builds that can get it. And for those who can't, you know, then it's going to be like looking to magic items or maybe allied spellcasters to help you overcome that resistance, right? Anyways, they've still got true sight out to 120 feet, and their passive perception has gone way up. Now, let's jump down to the traits. First up, we see right at the top that they still have legendary resistance, but now they get 4 per day, making it even tougher to burn through them, dang, and still have advantage on saves against spells and other magical effects like they used to. Their spells that they can cast are now listed under their actions, which makes sense and is a formatting change throughout that I really appreciate. And they actually have fewer spells that they can cast now, making them even more of a kind of martial damage dealer first, with like some paladin or cleric-like spells for backup or support if need be. A bunch of stuff gets streamlined or cut here, which makes for a much smoother presentation, and again, we see this throughout the new Monster Manual. Stuff on alignment is kind of just put up top under the name. No need to know that their attacks are magical, because that's not really a thing anymore. And then they do still have a melee and a ranged attack, though now, unfortunately, for PCs anyways, they have multi-attack, meaning they attack twice as often as before with either their ranged or melee attack, and they hit like trucks. No change to the hit chance or damage of the melee attack, which is still crazy high, but now, if you get hit, you are just stunned, period. No saving throw. Well, okay, fine. If you want to not be stunned instead, you can just take an extra 21 force damage that ignores any resistance or even immunity. Ay caramba. So like 52 damage on a hit or 31 and be stunned with a plus 17 to hit. I'm scared. The ranged attack is still a plus 15 to hit, but now hits for 35 damage instead of 24. That's like a 50% increase. Sheesh. And the damage type is just necrotic or radiant now, their choice. As for their legendary actions, yes, they still have 3. Bolster is changed in that it gives temporary hit points to themselves and to allies within 30 feet, not 120 feet, but then everyone affected gets advantage on every freaking DC 20 test until the end of the Empyrean's next turn. No more immunity to Charmed or Frightened from it, but still. Trembling Strike has been changed to the way cooler sounding Shockwave of Glory, which no longer costs 2 actions, just 1, though they can only do it once per round, and is basically like a fireball of force that emanates from them for 30 feet in every direction for 6d8 force damage, and we still get knocked prone on a fail. On a success, the DC is slightly lower, and it's a constitution save instead of strength, so that's probably better for a lot of PCs, right? Maybe most. And yeah, if we make the saving throw, we take half damage, and we're not knocked prone. But then finally, for legendary actions, the Empyrean can still just make an attack, though it does have to be the ranged attack, not the melee one if they want, thank goodness, so there's no auto stun. So yeah. That's the Empyrean. Harder to kill, a lot nastier in combat, and pretty demonstrative of what we're seeing in the new monster manual as far as difficulty ramping up while the DC stays the same, and I am here for it, even if I'm a little scared. So I hope you enjoyed my little expose. If you're new to the channel, I would love it if you'd check out the other stuff I do. Throw a like and or a subscribe my way. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I hope you all have a really fantastic day, and I hope to see you all soon. Thanks. Bye. Alright. Time to do some monster manual stuff. I've been waiting a while for this. I'm kind of super excited. Got my old school D&D shirt on for the D&D conversation.